This is Professor Michael Chapman. I'm one of the most experienced IVF doctors in Australia. I believe that an important part that I can contribute is to educate patients in relation to fertility, infertility, and all that involves. These series of podcasts help to educate you. I hope they are helpful to you. If you wish to know more, however, I'm more than happy to have you contact me via email, which is profmchapman@gmail.com, or make an appointment to see me on 9138 4222.
Hi, Prof. We actually had a question submitted from Jen on the Facebook Live. She asked Natalie what fertility innovations she's most excited about, and will IVF become more accessible and affordable in the future?
Oh, really good question. Look, I think there are a lot of discussions about making IVF more accessible. I think it's also, a lot of people don't realise that there are the public sectors as well, but obviously it comes with long wait times. You know, we're touching on sort of that sort of business, first class, economy kind of section before as well. But yeah, there's a lot of innovations. There's a lot of, I could open a whole can of worms, to be honest.
Open away.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of talk about inflammation at the moment, which is quite interesting to learn about. Shra have also released a lot about sort of their, you know, things in the environment, plastics, toxins, which could potentially contribute to sort of the outcomes of fertility as well. The list is ongoing and we're still finding out today. Prof, do you want to pitch in on any?
Yeah, I mean, the innovation. I mean, IVF has evolved relatively, well, on one hand, you could say it was relatively quick, because when I first was doing IVF in the 1980s, if we got a 10% pregnancy rate, putting back 2 or 3 or 4 embryos, we thought we were doing well. Today, we put back 1 embryo, and 35 to 40% per embryo transfer is now the result. So will we get any better than that? Obviously, the genetic testing of embryos is one of the areas, but it adds cost and at the moment, and it is invasive. And there is lots of research going on at looking at non-invasive, where you don't touch the embryo. The problem at the moment is that none of those techniques are as specific in saying this is a bad embryo or this is a good embryo, and so there's a risk of throwing out a good embryo, and that's holding things back in that field. But that's one area that I'm pretty sure is going to continue. Our scientific meetings at the moment are a lot of time is being spent on how AI can help.
I was about to say that.
but I've got, I mean, maybe it's because I'm not a computer nerd. I think it can speed things up, but I'm not convinced that it's going to change the final outcomes. Creating an embryo is creating an embryo. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. At AI selecting one that's better than another this week, you're not going to throw away the other embryo. But you get to that point at some point. AI is the flavour of the month. The other, as you already pointed out, the other flavour of the month is increasing research about toxicity in the environment. You can research it as much as you like, but I'm not sure how we actually physically change it. I mean, we have environmentalists generally talking about plastics in the ocean. Do we make any difference? Are we actually making any impact? Probably not. So I'm not sure that while the research may point fingers in a direction, the other problem is that it's easy to blame something, unless you can find why it causes the problem, then it's not necessarily believable. So I think they're the two areas that is the sort of at the forefront of scientific meetings at the moment. Are they advanced? I'm not totally convinced. So I think but having, as I say, been on the road for a while, each year there is something a little bit extra, a slightly different culture medium, a slightly different incubator that makes a 1 or 2% difference. And that's what's happened. I mean, if it's from 10% to 40% in 30 years, that's that's 1% per year. But that's what happens. There have been occasional big breakthroughs. I mean, the ICSI made a big difference to male fertility. There was a jump there. Growing embryos to 5 days rather than putting back at 2 or 3 days made a big jump. So there are things that happen. The horizon, however, I think is getting pretty crowded and not much to see over the horizon at the moment.
And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey podcast from the navigation menu.